by A-Rod. I am on the training team with the Central Florida Women's Surf Club. So if you see me out there, come by and say hi. But today I wanted to put together a mobility kind of flow for you all. That way it's something you can use either the night before surfing, after surfing, to help your joints feel better and strengthen yourself in some ways. I would say pick and choose what you can do. Don't do anything that you feel causes a sharp pain. Again, this is for you. Mobility versus flexibility. Mobility is having control in that range of motion, whereas flexibility is more so stretching and unlocking a range of motion. So the best way I like to describe it is, this is my mobility range of motion. I can put my hand behind my head. However, I can pull my shoulder a little more, and that shows my range of flexibility. All right, so that's the best kind of visual way I can describe mobility versus flexibility. But having control in a range of motion is going to help you a lot with your maneuvering, even with your paddling, because sometimes even overhead, some people have limited mobility, but they might have more flexibility a lot. So paddling and everything else, and helps keep the integrity of those little joints and muscles that put us all together as humans. So I hope you all enjoy this. I am going to be doing a voiceover, so I just kind of want to run through the mobility flow. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I've been a personal trainer for about 5 years. I have a specialty in corrective exercise, and I love things like all things fitness and nutrition, and I am here as a resource for you all. So enjoy. All right, so first things first, we're gonna go ahead and start off on the floor. We're gonna come up onto all fours and start working in some cat-cows. So when you're doing your cat-cows, I really want you to pay attention to bringing that belly all the way down and as far as you can, and bringing that spine all the way up, one vertebrae at a time, really trying to create some space. You can also add a little movement forward and back if you'd like, if that feels good. And then from there, I'm going to start with a thread the needle. So as I bring my hand up, I'm going to look back at it and roll out that wrist, give our wrist some love. And then I'm going to thread it through the other arm. And when you're doing this, you want to be sure you're pulling back on your hips. You can elongate the arm that's by your face in front of you or out to the side, but really try to pull your hips back towards your feet. This should be a little more active, and also pull away so that way you're opening up that mid back. Then you want to bring your hand back, open up the other side, again, rolling out that wrist, roll it out the other way and slide it through, threading the needle. You can elongate that arm again and really pull your hips back, trying to create some space in that spine. You can repeat this about 1 or 2 times, and just really focusing on opening up that mid back. Here I'm going to be going through it a little quicker, just adding a little more movement through and through. So we give our shoulders a lot of work when we're out surfing, and our wrist more than we know. So as you come back up, you might wiggle a little bit, and then we could go into either a quick downward dog. We're going to go ahead and move into world's greatest stretch. So I brought my foot to the outside part of my hand, and I'm like in a lunge. And then I'm bringing down my forearm to the ground and then opening it up as far back as you can go. While you're doing all this, you're squeezing your backside of your glutes, and then you're going to bring your hand to the outside of the foot and then lean it back to stretch your hamstrings and your calves and bringing that foot forward. So I am adjusting here a little bit to kind of figure out what feels good for me. So again, you can always adjust. So when I come back forward, I bring my other foot to meet my other one. And again, foot to the outside of the hand, then forearm coming down. You're squeezing your backside to open up that hip You're rotating that hand up and high, and then you're bringing the hand to the outside of the foot and then leaning back to sink into that hamstring and that calf. If this is too difficult, you can always put your knee down, but you want to go ahead and do these about 2 to 3 times or with the video. And this is called the world's greatest stretch. It's the great stretch because it's your hips, it's your thoracic spine, your middle spine, and it's also your hamstrings and your calf. So again, squeeze your backside. You're going to have that foot when it comes to the outside of your hand. You want it to be almost at a diagonal out. And then once you do that rotation with your forearm to the ground and back up, then you're going to bring your hand on the other side of your foot outside. And then you're going to stretch those hamstrings and those toes. So you can watch or you can follow along. So I'm going to do one more on the other side again. It's all the way out. Sometimes I also touch elbow to elbow before twisting out, and you're like reaching as far back as you can. It's very active and like intentional movements here. You can also leave your whole foot on the ground if that feels good for you. So you see it kind of move around a little bit here, but love this stretch. This is a great stretch too if you're going to the gym or just any kind of activity, maybe after you get off a plane or anything else. So now we're going to work on our wrist. So we're going to point our fingers towards us and just kind of do some little circles. Give those wrists some love. You can do circles one way. You could do them the other way. Then we're going to interlace our fingers and we're going to rotate our hands in and out. And then we're going to go into a prayer and press our hands up and then down. And you're actively pressing them. And that's really working on that wrist mobility. So then for this, if you want to put the top of your hands on the floor, press very lightly. Press very, very lightly for that. So shake it out. And now we're going to go ahead and get into my favorite 90-90s. This is again for hips, glute, all that. You want to have your front foot angled at a 90-degree angle, back foot at a 90-degree angle, and we're going to do what is called like a 90-90 hip switch. And so the middle of your chest or your sternum is over that front foot, and you're pressing actively into your knee and your foot in the ground, and then you're going to keep those legs wide open again and then switch the other side. Actively again, pressing that ankle and that knee, like pushing down. It might be shaking and pressing, and you should feel that already. If this is too easy, I'm going to have a variation here for you, but this sometimes might be too hard. If it is too hard, you can also put that hand down beside you. But again, you're going to see me constantly point at my knee and my ankle, and that's to remind you to actively push them into the ground. So a variation you could do here is you can lean forward a little more, right, to get deeper into that. And you can lift your back foot if you want to get even further into this movement. But again, try to keep those hips open to the same amount, and that's really going to help with mobility in those hip sockets and just open them up and counteract all that sitting we do. So again, if you need to get deeper, you lift that back foot, and that's that kind of control of that range of motion that you have the ability to do. So we're going to do these a few times. And then I believe we're going to go into an active pigeon pose. So I'm going to go ahead, get back on all fours. And I'm going to go into downward dog and lift up the back foot, one of the back foots, whichever one, doesn't matter first. And then I'm going to put my shin almost parallel. And then you're going to actively try to push yourself into the ground. So you can't really see it here. And then when I relax, I'm going to actively try to pull myself up. And that's like really strengthening those hip flexors. So we're going to add tension and then release and then add tension the other way. So I'll be pointing down and up And I did this 2 times. And then you want to stretch out that back leg again. Bring it back down, pedal out your feet. Go with the other leg that you did not do. Again, shin is like perpendicular to your arms. You're trying to get almost that square, but actively pushing down into the ground and then pulling yourself up, literally just using your hips and your legs. I would also recommend putting on some music, maybe some lo-fi stuff as you're doing this. And I'll have all the exercises listed out in the caption below. All right. I always like to just kick out that foot in the back. And then we're going to sink into a child's pose. And I like to do what I call monster fingers. That helps your chest get deeper. You're going to lean to one side. And you're actively, again, pulling your hips back towards your feet this whole time. That's really going to help your side body, your spine. And we're going to walk it over to the other side. Actively pulling your hips to your feet. All right. Nice deep stretch. And we're going to lean forward and sink into our hips. And from here, we're going to do some handcuff with rotation. So start with your hands almost like handcuff behind your back. Then you're going to pull yourself up. Excuse me as I adjust like a flopping fish on the ground. And you're going to push your hands up from the mid of your back. You're going to come and bring your hands out into a T. You can go slower than this, right? And when you're at that T, you're going to rotate your hands forward and then bring it behind your head. You can try to lift up your head to get a stretch in your triceps and then back out to the T. When you're at the T, rotate your hands all the way down. Your thumbs are going to point down again and back into that handcuff. And you're going to relax. So I know I ran through that. This is probably one of the best mobility moves for the whole upper shoulder and also strengthening that back. So again, when you go out into the T, go a little slower than what I am doing here in the video. I'm just a little exhausted and I'm probably sweating at this point. But again, you're back into that T, you rotate your hands and that's really getting into that shoulder socket there and helping you articulate the bones better. So you can rest. I say even after 3, I get pretty tired. So you could do 3 to 5, 10, you will be sweating by the end of it. I also like to have a mirror in front of me just so sometimes I can check my form. This is my little home gym, so I have more equipment in the closet. So I'm going to lean back, get into that child's pose. All right. Taking off the glasses. And then from here, we're going to go into downward dog. Now with this downward dog, what I really want you to focus on is pulling your hips back. Again, pulling your hips back. All this is creating space. Then we're going to go into an upward dog, which is kind of snaking through and leaning up. And then pushing your shoulders away from your ears. So downward dog, pull yourself back, then snake it through. And I'm going slow here. You can put your knees down if you need to. And then pushing your shoulders away from your ears, opening up, looking up. Back into that down dog, pushing those hips back. And then we're going to walk those hands up and we're going to go into a Jefferson curl, which is like kind of curl yourself up one vertebrae at a time. Excuse me while I fix my shirt. And then arms up and you're going to do a little lean back. And then you're going to bring it forward, swan dive, walk those hands forward. You're going to go ahead into that upward dog and trying to sink into those hips. Again, if your knees down, if this is too difficult, then you're going to lean back, push those hips back, push those shoulders, walk it up, and roll up one vertebrae at a time. Arms up overhead, a little lean back, just to open up that chest. All right. So this is the portion on the floor. I'm going to move into some standing moves next. All right, so we're gonna get right into it with some standing wall shoulder circles. So I'm gonna adjust myself a little bit, but essentially you wanna be pressing your arm against the wall really hard. If this is too difficult, just make a little more space between you and the wall, and then you're gonna lift it up overhead. Once it hits overhead, try to go as far back with the back of your hand facing the wall, and then once you can't anymore, you're gonna turn your hand full like around so your palm and your thumb hit the wall and all the way through. So I'm going to do two of these, but don't forget to go the other way. Like I did, same deal. You're just going to kind of, it's working on rotating that shoulder and that shoulder cuff. And this is also like a rehab exercise, but you want to make sure you create that tension and you're pressing against the wall. If you look, I'm walking away from the wall. The further you are away from the wall, the easier it is if you have limited shoulder mobility. Let me move the camera angle and we'll keep going here. So again, overhead, once you hit that overhead portion, you are going to go ahead and rotate that hand. One side might be easier than the other, so just keep that in mind. And then don't forget to do it the other way. Here I demo it going the other way, the other direction as well. Then after that, we're going to go ahead and stretch our quads out. And all I'm doing is I'm holding it with the same hand on the same side. You could do opposite hand, opposite side. But I'm just squeezing my glute. And I think we forget the power of squeezing. Just like when you were doing the world's greatest stretch, you were squeezing that backside. Squeeze your glute to open it up. Then we're going to lunge forward and kind of do a half lunge twist. So I'm going to lunge forward and twist backwards, working into that thoracic spine, your mid spine essentially, and your hips. So, and then you want to do the other side and lunge forward. This is one of those yoga moves. I forget what it's called. It might just be called like a half moon lunge or something. But again, you're actively like trying to pull yourself around as far as you can go. And then you're releasing that tension, okay? So shake it out, take your time. If you have more area to walk, that's even better. If you need to, you can place your hand on your hip. If you need to make your lunges a little shorter, feel free. If you need a wall to hold on to, do that too. So do this a few times. Really open up that side body and sink into those hips. So then the next move after that is we're going to do scapular clocks. So you're going to start with your hands, arms bent. Then you're going to round your back forward. Then you're going to bring your shoulders up to your ears and squeeze. Then you're going to relax. Then you're going to push it down and depress those shoulder blades and relax. And then you're going to open, like squeeze your back as if you're trying to hold a piece of paper and relax. We're going to do those a few times. So again, round forward, pulling apart those shoulder blades, chin to chest, relax. Bring it up to your ears, and then relax. Press down, relax, and then open up. Squeeze those shoulder blades together, chest out, relax. All right. One more time if you want. The next moves are going to be some neck moves. So I'm going to go ahead and clasp my hands behind my back, push my shoulders down, bring my chin to my chest, then come to center, and then bring my head all the way back, stretching the front of that neck. These are called head nods for obvious reasons. But go slow. Bring that chin to your chest. You're going to pause in the middle, then all the way back, stretching the front of your neck, then back to the middle for a pause. Nice and slow. Then you want to do some head turns where you're trying to move your head all the way and turn it all the way to one side as far as you can, then to the center, and then all the way to the other side. Go slow here. Go to your range of motion. Warm yourself up. Don't want you to hurt yourself or pull anything. So really just listen to your body. But if you're like, I can do a little more, you can always just like add a little press. We're always looking behind us when we're on the water. So this neck mobility is like one of the things you kind of want to pay attention to. And if you have kids or a dog that you drive with, if you're reaching back behind you, it'll kind of help prevent you from straining anything then. Then we're going to get into neck circles. And you're going to bring your chin to your chest first. Then one side is going to go over the other. You're going to rotate your head back. And if you can tell, I'm like nodding my head, going in like a full circle around my neck, nodding my head back and forth. In some spots where I have tension in my traps or in my neck. So you can just stay a little time on those sticking points and it'll help relax the tension there. And especially if you work a desk job like I do, I'm not a full-time trainer. I work for corporate America full-time. So this is one of those moves I am constantly doing. Feel free to stay doing this move as long as you want, going as slow as you want, nodding back and forth as much as you need. And then after you're done, you can repeat any of the other neck moves or any of the other moves you saw here and just shake it out and clap for yourself because we're done. All right, guys, so if you enjoyed that mobility flow, please let me know. Again, take what you need. If anything kind of hurts or you're a little tired, modify as needed. If you all are interested, I would be happy to give more mobility movements that you guys can do. Two things I always tend to have in my house are tennis balls, and that's because of my dog. And a mobility stick. I actually have two. You could use like a broomstick or whatever. I have a dowel and I have a mobility stick, something I made with like stuff from Home Depot. But these are really great tools to kind of apply tension and to release tension. And some of the moves we did today should be helping you do that in certain areas and just unlocking that control. A lot of it looks similar to yoga, so I really do recommend yoga or just stretching in general. So if you want to hold some of these as stretch instead of active because that's what you need, feel free. Again, take what you need, leave what you don't. But again, tennis ball, real quick. If you don't have one, please let me know. I will gladly bring you extra. I have a dog. But you could use this for trigger points. Let's say if your traps are tight, your shoulders tight, low back, glute, whatever it is. This is a really great tool, so I wanted to leave you all with that. I hope you really enjoyed this. I believe I said that already. And if you have any questions, you can find me via Facebook Messenger. You can find me on Instagram at arodcoaching. You can email me, arodcoaching@gmail.com if you have any questions or are interested in kind of getting maybe your own specific mobility flow, because you might have something specific you're dealing with. And you can find me at the beach. I will say this, if you wanna reach out to me at the beach, do it before surfing or whenever I'm on the shore. In the water, I'm just trying not to die and I'm trying to stay out of everyone's way. So you might see me some way, I'm typically on the end, but always like, I'm very, very welcoming to any questions you all have. I love this stuff again, and happy surfing.